Hello, my name is Hannah Magoo, and today I'm going to be talking to you about bullying as a social problem, but more specifically, bullying in our schools. So bullying is considered a major social problem that is present in many of our schools today around the globe. But what is a social problem? A social problem can be defined as a behavior or condition, anything that has a negative impact on a large group of people. These problems are important to the society and should be addressed and fixed. Since they are on such a large scale, these issues are kind of harder to eradicate, making it a slow and long process because not just one group of people can fix the situation. Other social problems that I found include homelessness, child abuse, affirmative action laws, eating disorders, climate change, and animal rights. But the list goes on and on. But specifically today, I wanted to speak to you guys about bullying. Bullying can be defined as verbal, physical, or psychological abuse by someone who is intending harm upon another person. There are four main types of bullying: physical, verbal, social, and cyberbullying. So physical bullying is just like it sounds. It's hitting, kicking, punching, any kind of activity that is harming another person. Verbal bullying is also called verbal abuse. So that is name calling, insults, teasing, anything said to another person that is causing them emotional harm. And usually that kind of bullying is done in front of the victim to their face. Social bullying is the type of bullying that is damaging or ruining someone's reputation. So this kind of bullying is usually done behind someone's back, whether that's spreading rumors, gossip, or ostracizing them from social settings to make them feel less than. Cyberbullying is a relatively new form of bullying, since the internet is relatively new in the grand scheme of time. Because of social media and smartphones, cyberbullying has taken off as an easier form of bullying. The bully or bullies in this situation can spread rumors online, post pictures, videos, flood this person's phone with text messages, and just harassing them all from behind a screen. And cyberbullying makes it harder for the student or individual to escape bullying because many times bullying happens at school and then they get to go home and it's done for the day. But with cyberbullying, it's like they're taking it home with them, so that makes it harder to go about your day. So who gets bullied? Bully victims are typically individuals who stray from the norm, who aren't like everybody else and who aren't like the large majority group. So many times bullies are people who don't understand other individuals. They don't understand how they talk, how they dress, how they look, or how they act, and that can really affect the victims. So victims of bullying include physical or mentally handicapped individuals, so those with special needs or those who, are in wheelchairs or autistic, have Down syndrome. They are seen as different. Those who are gifted and intelligent individuals, many bullies have insecurities about their academics, and so they think that it is okay to speak ill will or harm against the academically inclined because they feel bad about themselves. Ethnic or linguistic minority groups are also a target for victimization because they're different from the large majority group. They don't look the same, they don't act the same, they definitely don't sound the same, and so people think it's okay to ostracize them and hurt them. Obese individuals are another target. There is a large amount of fat shaming in schools and in communities still. Thankfully, though, the last 5 years or so, a lot of body positivity has been beginning to rise up, and that's awesome. Lastly, some of the victims of bullying include the LGBTQ community. Their lifestyle is different than the majority of people, and so other individuals don't think that that's okay, and so they make sure that their opinions are made known, and that's just not right. So typically, gender-wise, boys are more of the aggressive bullies and girls are more relational. So what that means is boys tend to be more physical bullies with the hitting and punching, and girls tend to be mean girls or catty and use their words. That's not saying that every boy and every girl is like that, but the vast majority, that is the way that it has been. So what can happen to these victims? Victims of bullying can suffer in mental and physical health as well as academically. And this bullying can be seen as a major life stressor on a young person. And major life stressors can make going about your day extremely difficult. So mentally, bullying can lower someone's self-esteem, can increase rates of depression and anxiety, and add to loneliness that someone already feels being a teenager and a young person. So all of these things can lead to an individual beginning to believe in self-blame. And what self-blame is, it means that they think that it's their fault, they did something wrong, that they are the cause of somebody bullying them, when it's really the other way around. Excuse me. Physically, an individual obviously can suffer from injury from physical bullying, but can also lose their appetite, get headaches, have sleep issues, and that really just messes up the entire functionality of your body. So academically, both mental and physical health take a role in this. So if you are not feeling like you love yourself, you don't feel like you deserve education, or you don't want to be there, it makes going about your school day harder. But also, if you are having headaches, if you don't sleep well, going to school and sitting through a class is extremely difficult. So another major thing that can happen with victims is suicide. So bullying-related suicide is connected to every form of bullying: physical, social, cyber, and verbal. But victims who are bullied have a higher rate of suicide than non-bully victims. They are 2 to 9 times more likely to consider suicide than non-victims. I found that in 2014, suicide was the second leading cause of death amongst young people aged 10 to 24. And at least 14% of high school students have considered suicide, and 7% have attempted suicide. The higher risk for suicide is among girls aged 10 to 14. So what are the schools doing? All 50 states have anti-bullying laws, but as far as education goes, getting rid of this problem may be harder than it sounds. Programs for anti-bullying can be very expensive and hard to obtain, with increasing budget constraints and educational funding issues. So research has shown that school-wide anti-bullying program approaches have little to no effect. So even if they did receive that funding for those programs, it might not help, and sometimes it even backfires. But providing public awareness to communities and families and students is a great way to show how we can fix bullying. Not only that, but training staff and teachers to be aware of the warning signs can help the students at those schools feel safer. Lastly, what I found on this was asking students' opinions and getting them involved in the problem is another great way to eradicate it. Because if you involve students and get them talking about it, they are more involved, they are wanting to fix the problem, and they are more aware. So what about teachers? So obviously I said teachers need to be properly trained, because most kids spend their entire day at school and they want to feel safe in their learning environment. And we as teachers need to provide that for them. So I found that teachers need to adopt some of these practices. And one of them is never to ignore a bullying incident they witness. Most bullying incidents happen in the hallways, in the bathrooms, place where there's not as much adult supervision. And so when a teacher sees somebody being bullied, it's likely not the first time this has happened. And so they really need to never ignore that issue. This also helps the victim feel less alone, and they have more power and safety. Also, teachers can turn these into teachable moments that opens lines of discussion between their classrooms so that it's not this taboo kind of topic. It also helps with the bystander effect. So if a student sees another student being bullied, they're more likely to speak about it instead of just walking past and letting it happen. So how do we help? Obviously, you want to tell somebody to talk to a teacher, a parent, a friend, but not everybody has that kind of outlet. So I found some resources that are very helpful. StopBullying.gov kind of gives information about the different kinds of bullying and ways to prevent it. There's also the National Suicide Prevention Line at 1-800-273-8255, and this will take you to your nearest crisis center over the phone. And lastly, there's the Trevor Project, which is trained counselors to help young people who are feeling alone and helpless, and they just want a safe place to talk. They created the Trevor Lifeline at 866-488-7386. So hopefully with all this information and people rising up to fix this issue, we can really eradicate bullying. Thank you for your time.